My husband cheated on me with my best friend, but instead of crying and begging, I smiled, packed my bags, and left them with something they never saw coming. And trust me, karma hit harder than I ever could. I thought I had it all figured out. 10 years of marriage, a beautiful home in the suburbs, a husband who kissed me goodbye every morning, and Sarah, my best friend since college. The kind of friend who knew my coffee order, who I called at 2 a.m. when I couldn't sleep, who was there for every milestone. My husband David was a financial advisor, charming, successful, the kind of guy who always knew what to say. Sarah was a yoga instructor, always talking about positive energy and living your truth. Funny how people who talk the most about truth are often the biggest liars. We had dinner together every Friday night, the three of us. Sometimes Sarah would bring a date, but they never lasted. She'd laugh and say she was too picky, that she was waiting for someone special. I remember thinking how lucky I was. A solid marriage, a loyal best friend. What more could a woman want? God, I was so naive. It started with small things. David's phone, face down on the table, always. New cologne, late nights at the office. These things alone wouldn't have meant much, but then, Sarah started canceling our plans. She was busy, always busy, but never too busy to ask about David. How's David handling the stress at work? Is David still going to that new gym downtown? I brushed it off, until the night I came home early from a business trip. I was supposed to be gone until Sunday, but I finished my meetings early. I was excited. I'd surprise David with his favorite takeout. Maybe we'd watch a movie. I pulled into our driveway at 9 p.m. on Friday night. Sarah's car was parked outside. My heart started racing, but I told myself, they're probably just hanging out. Maybe she stopped by to drop something off. But the house was dark, except for the bedroom window. I stood there in my own driveway, frozen, staring at that light. My hands were shaking as I unlocked the door. The house was quiet, too quiet. I heard them before I saw them. Laughter, her laughter, coming from upstairs, from my bedroom. I didn't storm in screaming. I didn't throw things. I stood outside that door and listened, and what I heard broke something in me that I didn't know could break. They weren't just sleeping together. They were in love, or at least they thought they were. Sarah's voice, breathless. I can't keep doing this. We need to tell her. David's response. Not yet. The business account is still in both our names. Once I transfer everything to my personal account, then we'll tell her. And just like that, everything clicked into place. I didn't confront them that night. I quietly walked back downstairs, got in my car, and drove to a hotel. I sat in that sterile room until sunrise, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the past year. The joint business account David mentioned, that was our savings. Money from my inheritance. Money we'd been building for years. He was planning to take it all before leaving me. I cried that night. Not because I lost them, but because I had been so blind. But by morning, the tears were gone, and something else took their place. Clarity. I spent the next 3 days acting completely normal. I came home, kissed David like nothing happened. I texted Sarah about brunch plans. They had no idea I knew. Meanwhile, I was busy. I called a divorce attorney. Not just any attorney, the best one in the state. I showed her everything. The timeline, the evidence I'd started gathering, photos of Sarah's car at our house when I was away, bank statements. Then I called my uncle, who worked in finance. He helped me understand exactly what David was planning, and more importantly, how to protect myself. I emptied our joint savings account first. Every penny. Moved it to a new account in my name only. Legally, it was half mine anyway, but this way, he couldn't touch it. Then I discovered something beautiful. David didn't just have our joint account. He had credit cards, lots of them, in both our names. And over the past 6 months, while he was planning his exit strategy with Sarah, he'd been spending. Expensive dinners I never attended, hotel rooms, jewelry I never received. The debt? Nearly $60,000. But here's the thing about joint accounts and joint credit cards. They required both signatures, and I had proof that I never authorized these purchases. Every transaction time-stamped and cross-referenced with my work calendar, my credit card statements, my phone location data. My attorney smiled when I showed her. "This is fraud," she said, "and it's all on him." I started documenting everything. Screenshots, emails. I even set up a hidden camera in our living room after I accidentally mentioned to David that I'd be working late all week. Sure enough, Sarah came over every single night. They drank our wine, sat on our couch, talked about their future together, about the apartment they'd rent downtown, about how they'd split the money from our savings account, the money that was already gone. On camera, David said the words that sealed his fate. "Once the divorce is final, she won't get anything." I've made sure of that. My lawyer says we can prove the marriage was broken long before this. His lawyer, the one he'd hired secretly, the one who had no idea I had my own attorney and that we were 10 steps ahead. I let them dig their hole deeper. 2 weeks later, I made my move. It was a Friday night, our usual dinner night. I told David I had a surprise, that I wanted to talk about something important. I told him to invite Sarah over. He looked nervous, but excited. He probably thought I'd found out and that this was the big confrontation he'd been preparing for. They both showed up. Sarah brought wine. The audacity. We sat down at the dining room table and I smiled at both of them. "I wanted us all to be together tonight," I said, "because I have some news." David reached for Sarah's hand under the table. I saw it. "I'm filing for divorce, David." He tried to look surprised. "Honey, what? Why?" "Let me finish," I said calmly. "I'm divorcing you because you've been having an affair with Sarah for the past 8 months. I have evidence, videos, photos, messages that I recovered from the cloud backup you forgot you set up." Sarah's face went white. "But here's the interesting part," I continued. "That joint savings account you were planning to transfer to your personal account? I emptied it 2 weeks ago. It's legally mine, my inheritance, my money." David stood up. "You can't do that." "I already did. But don't worry, you still have something." I slid a folder across the table. "These are the credit card statements for the cards in both our names. $60,000 in debt. Hotels, jewelry, dinners, all for your affair. All technically fraud since I never authorized the spending, and you forged my signature on 3 of the applications. My attorney has already filed the paperwork. You're legally responsible for 100% of that debt. And Sarah?" I turned to her, my ex-best friend who couldn't even look at me. "I hope he's worth it. Because the apartment you two were planning to rent, his credit is destroyed. The money you thought he had, gone. And that gym studio you were planning to open with your share of his money?" I smiled. "Good luck." I moved out that night. I'd already had everything packed, stored at my sister's house. I took what was mine and left them with the mess they created. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. David tried to fight it, but his lawyer dropped him once the fraud evidence came out. He ended up representing himself. He got nothing. No savings, no house. I'd kept up with the mortgage payments using my own income, and since his name was barely on the deed thanks to some very careful financial planning years ago, the judge awarded it to me. The credit card companies came after him hard. Last I heard, he had to file for bankruptcy. Sarah? Her yoga studio dream died. Their relationship didn't even last 6 months after I left. Turns out, love built on lies and stolen moments doesn't survive in the real world, especially when there's no money and a mountain of debt. She tried to reach out to me once. A long email about how sorry she was, how she never meant to hurt me, how the universe was teaching her a lesson. I deleted it without finishing it. As for me, I sold the house a year later and moved to a different city, started fresh. I took that savings, my savings, and invested it. Started my own consulting business. Met new people. Real people. I even started dating again. Slowly, carefully, but this time, I trust my instincts. People ask me if I regret how I handled it, if I should have confronted them differently, been more forgiving. But here's what I learned. Forgiveness doesn't mean letting people destroy you. Sometimes the best revenge isn't screaming or fighting. It's walking away and letting them face the consequences of their own choices. David thought he was so clever, thought he'd planned everything perfectly. But he forgot one thing. I'm smarter than he ever gave me credit for. And karma? She's patient, but she always collects.